This is Making Sense of Life and Reality.
Vast thing.
I'm Angel Michael, and this is Making Sense of Life and Reality. There are people who talk at you, then there are storytellers, rare ones, who sit you down inside a moment and refuse to let you live until you felt something. Today's guest is the latter. He calls himself your second favorite storyteller. I call him a mirror for this generation. He is Nilotic, low by culture, Kisumu by heart.
Donkey.
From the streets of Kisumu to the ears of the continent.
Where is Naivasha? When I was in university, one time we went to Naivasha from Nairobi, and we went camping at this camp called Crayfish. Was it Crayfish or Fisherman's Camp? It was one of those. And we had a great time. There were hippos that came out in the middle of the night, which now that I think about it, I don't think I want to do that. Now that I have family, I'm not sure I want to do that. It was great. We sang songs around a campfire in Naivasha. It was beautiful. But that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is this. Look at my face. Say it one more time. That's the face that you should make when you say billion. How much is a billion? If you take 1,000 Kenyan shilling notes and you line them like this along the road, right? And you take them from here, from say CBD, Nairobi, Central Business District of Nairobi. Scratch that. You take them for Parliament of Nairobi all the way to Hell's Gate in Naivasha and line them along the road on the highway like this too. 1,000. From Parliament to Hell's Gate in Nairobi. You won't have laid down a billion. Akuna, 95 kilometers. Akuna cannot. Focus, Kenyans, because a billion deserves capital B. Billion. Donge. I am the Kikombe, your second favorite storyteller. Donge.
Let's see, sir, man. What does donge mean? It usually comes with a very heavy thing. I'm like, hey, I can imagine a white person just saying donge.
Donge. There's only two ways you can say donge.
Yeah.
So even if you have a very high voice,
Yeah.
you're donge. Lazima you talking at donge. Like, or if you have a deep voice, lazima donge. Like you're all lazima itoke low alafu irudi juu.
For sure.
Donge means
let's-
sindio.
Cindy.
Donge is just basically it's sindio. It's as simple as that.
Hi, man. Go up and it makes sense
Yeah.
of life and reality. Donge.
Donge. Yes, thank you, brother. How are you, my brother?
Now, very good, very good. And welcome, Mr. Kikombe, to Making Sense of Life and Reality
Nimeshukuru.
podcast.
Yeah, man. So first of all, Angel, thank you very much for having me.
Blessed.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate that. So hopefully we get to learn from each other today. Unajua,
Yeah,
tutang'ang'ana, but tutazidi tu, si unajua.
must appreciate it.
Yeah, so I mean, Kikombe ni philosophy. So sio tu jina tu Kikombe of your, but of course, bado tu ni jina. What I believe is this, mimi nimebelieve kila siku mtu ana live life yake kama the philosophy of the cup. So whatever you do, you are pouring into somebody or you're drinking from somebody. So when you interact with people, there's something you're getting from people that is valuable. And when they interact with you, that there's something that they are getting that is valuable from you as well. So you're into philosophy. But the deeper meaning, kuna acronym hapo.
Okay.
So Kikombe si tu Kikombe too. So those are also attributes.
Yes.
Venye zinaenda na vitu zenye nimebelieve. So the K is for knowledge. So me believe that anybody will give you knowledge, regardless of who they are. Bill Nye says that everybody that you will ever meet knows something that you don't. Hata mtoi tu mdogo anajua kile yenye wewe hujui. There is a little bit of something that they know that you don't know. So we all have to embrace every conversation, learning, hoping to learn something that somebody else knows that you don't. Then the I need information. There's a lot of information out there, and I think that we all constitute that information. The next the K, need keenness. So you have to be keen in order for you to tap into that information and the knowledge. Then you have to be keen in engaging in conversations with other people. And then kuna your O, your open-mindedness. You know, if you only interact with people that you agree with, life will be boring. Utaboeka after 2 days. So you have to have an open mind to interact with other people that maybe have ideas that don't agree with yours. And then M ni mindfulness too. So be aware of what is happening around you. Be aware of things that are going on around with other people in life. Be aware of the environment. Be aware of your feelings. Be aware of how you make other people feel. And be aware of how other people make you feel. So just katu makini and be mindful. Observe without judgment and so on and so on. Then the B ni balance. Kuna time ya fun, kuna time ya kulia, kuna time ya kwenda choo, kuna time ya kulala. Everything comes with its own time. Kuna time ya kuwa serious na kuna time ya kuchapa jokes, ndio? And finally, the E is enlightenment or education. So everything that circulates around everything we want to learn in life educates us. Na si tu education ya kwenda shule, ni the education where, for example, you and I are having a conversation now, and there's something that nitatoka nayo hapa nitasema, nimelearn kitu hapa hivi kutoka kwa Angel. So that's the enlightenment that I want us to live our life. So KIKOMBE. Knowledge, information, keenness, open-mindedness, mindfulness, balance, and enlightenment in education. Kikombe.
Now you see, thank you for that, making sense of life and reality. That is me coming to you and be like, man, you just know the Kikombe, and to you it's just like, maybe it's his family name, maybe it's a symbolic thing that he takes it up to be the Kikombe, Africanism, and I bet, those things where people don't know the true story behind it, and then you hear the stories that just fly around on why you think something is that, and then today you hear it, you're like, okay, there's a whole breakdown.
Yeah, bro.
So that is so deep, man. How did you come to make sense of that yourself? And how did all that come? Those are many steps. KIKO, those are many.
Si unajua tu, I actually just because let me try and trace when exactly. I can't put a finger on it, but I think ilikuwa time ya I think ilikuwa before COVID, just before COVID, and so actually initially nilikuwa nafanya photography, so I was very keen in photography and videography because that's what I was excited about, but I also wanted to have photography and videography that has purpose. Sio tu umeenda umechapa tu picha, or videography that just ni kuchapa tu picha. You want something that's purposeful, and that's what I went for. So then I started thinking, okay, so what is it that really I care about, right? And then I realized that I just care about how I relate with people, and I think people should care about how they relate with me. So Angel, I'm really sorry, but nataka kukusumbua. Tell me about your podcast, because watch podcast zako, nimeona. I think I watched about 5 episodes, and all of them are very unique.
Okay.
Niliona ile episode ulikuwa na ule demo wa podcasting. I saw the episode that you had with the gentleman who's a musician and a mix Afro music and everything else. So everything was very, very uniquely enlightening. Alafu kulikuwa na ile ingine yenye was it the gentleman who was talking about information and mindfulness or something like that?
Yes.
Ama ilikuwa huyo name? Yes, yes.
Natasha Karanja about IT.
Yes, Natasha Karanja.
Yes.
Boss. Yeah. Tell me, man.
So
it's a very interesting podcast.
I have, as you're explaining about Kikombe and just hitting all the points, actually, like all the points, I'm like, that is making sense of life and reality from my place. So I believe each and every person is special. I believe we have capacity. I believe life is the gift. And with that, now comes another part of making sense of life and reality. Now, you're left now to that point personally. So I really want to talk to the self. I really want to talk to the eyes to be able to, to showcase and highlight the gems that they have, because I believe in everybody. So it's just about. I was listening to yours, to Nilotes in a pod, and the thing of the child who's being forced to do something different. They were musically talented, and yet they're being forced to
Yes.
the school grading system. So it's that. I've gone through life, and at times I find people really try and force boxes into round squares, and with that, it's the making sense of it. You make sense of it, you're like, hey, hapana, sahii mtoto wangu nikimtaangalia kenye anafanya, and make sure I ni daktari ama ni engineer ama ni musician ama ni, from then on, everything that just becomes better, because I have the merchandise, and down here it's written making sense for better, because that's the goal. You're making sense for better.
I noticed. I love. By the way, I love the merchandise and the your Marvin.
Yes, sir.
hoodie,
Yes,
and
sir.
then that making sense of life. That, do you know? Initially, I thought it was nilidhani ni zile badge za kuweka pin.
Nah, it's a nice
No, but
embroidery on it.
ni fit sana. It's really, really nice. I like it.
Shukran. So
Yeah,
so
making sense
even
of
with the
life.
merchandise is that, I just want you to look at yourself in the mirror. Even this one down here is, there's option of good and bad. There's where you lose sense, and then you're like, oh gosh, I did not make sense of that, and that's why I did something stupid. So you see, when you make sense, it's different. It's a whole different experience, and that is what I want for more people to get into. I'm imagining I'm a biker also, so there are those times I've broken all my limbs, and there are those times where you're just like, if I just stopped
Where?
just 2 seconds before, just let go of the brake, of the acceleration, and just started braking, that would have been a whole different situation. So the making sense of that at times is so critical. It's it's life-threatening. So my goal is just making sense for better. And with that, you look at what even other people are doing. Look at what you're doing as the Kikombe. I was telling a friend of mine, don't know who the next guest is, but again, I want you to be doing this. Yeah, that's how I want you the next time to say billion. Please, because when you've come to make sense in a way that you've broken it down in certain ways, you're like, man, $1 billion is that much, and then you're losing 2-3 billion every day.
Every day, brother.
Even in Dan Ray's interview, I was telling him, man, this guy could not come as Unpack, he had to come as Tupac. But you had to quote him to say, man, you might not be the person to do it, but you're sure to be the person to spark it. And you're doing it. And again, I think just looking at the brighter side, on the good side of these things, it's good energy, bad energy. There is so much you can still get from good energy that looking at the comparative analysis, with bad energy, you're like, yes, you will get all that, but all the baggage, all the, it's just a whole other case. I'm like, man, politician, why would you not want to just, like, let's say you're investing in something and put in your clean money in this project, push for it to actually really work, and not having only one person, having so many people having clean money, showing like the Ninyoro, whatever he's doing, really pushing to, for other things. You're like, hey, that's a different way, that's a good way. oh wow, just when you hear the story, you're like, man, that's a really different energy compared to hear other stuff. You're like, man, how far do you see this going? So bad energy
I
really
agree.
doesn't show so much value that I do not want people to get into that. Let's go
Like
to the
that.
good energy. So
I do
yeah,
like
that's
that,
me.
and I
So
appreciate that. But
that's
I
me.
think you know the story of Wangari Maathai. What she says, when she talks about the hummingbird. I don't know if you remember the hummingbird story. So I think there was a fire, and the little hummingbird kept bringing like a little bit, and people are telling the hummingbird, now you na kaka maji kako kadogo utapoza hii maji. And the little hummingbird said, like, it might be little, but I'm doing the much that I can, but it's very little. So, people like you, and I think, and I want to believe that people like me, we are hopefully making an impact on somebody at a given time or some time. And the impact might be little, but that's the little that is sometimes needed. Like just like you mentioned, Tupac said, I might not be the one to change the world, but I guarantee you that I will spark the brain that will change the world. So nikakutika
Exactly.
kitu kadogo tu. Yeah,
Man, and it's crazy how that small really does make such an impact compared to a whole table. A whole table just doesn't sit well until you just put a small stone there, and you're like, wow, it's
exactly.
tabled.
Yeah, yeah. Ni kama zile puzzle pieces, right? Like, like you can buy a puzzle piece of like 1,000 pieces, and if
Yeah.
you're missing 3 of them, you don't have a complete image. Umemiss mbili, moja pengine iko pale hivyo, ingine iko pale.
Yes, sir.
But we try and put the pieces together as much as you can. I think, like, I know that we want to make sense of life, but life is a puzzle, and every day we're building it one piece at a time. And who knows, one day we'll ever put the pieces together, or maybe the pieces will never be put together, but we don't know if we don't start, and we don't know if we don't try. Sindio?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
and that's why I think people keep saying, keep going, because just the pieces will make sense. Things make sense in hindsight. You just keep going. So yes. And another point you just said is that I've come to make sense of, and I really want to showcase and highlight, is also those challenges where you're like, at times for this life, it's a puzzle, and these pieces you'll always be picking them. So you think you're in your 20s, you'll chill in your 30s, you're in your 40s, you'll chill in your 50s. You're like, hey, bruh, sister, this is just one long journey. and with this, you're just like, it's real. As in, like, it's real. Even with man, unfortunately, like with the school fires, I'm just like, yo, I don't know what you tell a student right now, but for me, I'm just like, life is long. Whatever you do now, it just affects it all. And it just, that's what comes in, just dance. You're like, wow, life already does that by itself. So you add another stuff, you're just like, you go even way further than anybody ever thought. Yourself, your family, your friends, just like, even yourself, you're lost, and you're like, how did I get here?
Agree.
Yeah,
Agree.
so
Angel, what I think, yeah? I think the students that are causing chaos in schools, this is the generation that maybe this is the generation that might finally point our education system in the right direction. It might be painful, but sometimes radical and tough situations are the ones that spark change. So nakumbuka Gen Z haikuja na, the June 25 did not just come by negotiations. It came through some extreme measures, some of them way too extreme. And I think these students are sending us a message. They're saying, for the longest time, education is underfunded. Actually, yes, education is well funded in the book, by the books. But in reality, that does not translate. Sindio? So I think based on current research, there's at least 170 or 115 billion that is yet to reach education since time immemorial. So time immemorial. Na hizo ni zenye tu zimeandikwa kwa kitabu. So kuna hizo, I don't know if we can call them pending bills, but there's money that never makes it to schools. But the schools are meant to run. And that is one thing. Me believe the day that we truly fund our schools the way it is needed, so many things will change. One, research itakuwa better. Walimu watakuwa paid better. When you pay teachers better, they will truly care about their students. They will go and enrich themselves with the new methods of teaching that are very, very relevant to the current students that they have. Wataenda wajifunze, waende wasomezo venye watu wa Singapore wanafunzwa, whichever it is, right? When proper funding happens, chuo mpya zitaundwa. Juzi president alikuwa Maseno School, I know for sure that the capacity should not be more than 1,000. And then President anasema, I've instructed to build a new dormitory or something else, and you're looking at an extra 1,000 students. But you're thinking, look, if the education budget remains the same, then you're looking at overcrowding a national school. How are you meant to produce quality individuals to come from these institutions and then Kenya iendelee mbele in future? So if the funding happens in the right way, then people will begin to make the right decisions. Unanielewa? Students will be very valued at school. Dishi itakuwa poa. Dishi ikiwa poa, watu hawezi complain. Beds itakuwa mzuri na enough. Imagine, I don't know if you went, did you go to a boarding school, my brother?
Oh, yes, from primary.
But can you imagine closing day, utaki kwenda home, juchuo ni poa? That is how I think schools should be.
Bless up. Yes,
the only reason you should be going home is because you miss your family, not because you've lived a horrible life the whole term. And I think education should be that way, and we should strive to do that. I remember during the Gen Z protest, I think one of the Gen Z students was saying, not students, sorry, one of the Gen Z protester was saying, the only thing that they wish for is to have hot water in schools. Alafu story ishe. Imagine kitu ndogo kai ati chuo tu iko na hot water. Bro. Yeah, at least mlikuwa na maji. See, tulikuwa tunaenda kwa river bana.
And I was like, what?
See, our dream was to have running water at school. We didn't care if it was cold or hot. So yeah, hata ukiangalia tu hizi stories are unrest. I remember I was alive when St. Kizito was happening. And I remember Moi alienda mpaka akaangalia hiyo shule. Akatengeneza commission of inquiry. Do you know, to this day there have been 7 commission of inquiries. Hakuna hata kitu moja wamewahi uliza yenye ilifanyika in the proper way. Kuna vitu tu walifanya mbili hivi ati democratically elected head boys or corporal punishment iachwe. But if there's no follow-up to these things, kataisha. So these things will come again. And I really worry, because I worry that the next thing ni watu wa prime wataanza kustrike. Then universities. And to be honest, yeah, go on, Polly.
No pressure. No, I'm just like, man, I feel that, but again, I really want to come and slide in and like enjoy my fun. I'm like, yo, we need to sit down, because going down is not the solution right now. Being the person you try to do, start up different things. You try to, to move on in life. You have to eat. You have to pay your bills. You have a lot.
Yes.
So with all this, I'm just like, why can't we just operate good businesses? And right now, the government is the part where you have all capital, because you collect taxes already. So you have all capital to do anything that you need to do. And like, yo, so just
Yes.
like a good business. Like any person
Yes.
who needs to feed themselves, their families, school fees. Just
Agree.
simple job. You need just a job. Why can't you just like go do your job? Just do your job. Let's be successful. Let's invest much. You have all these things that everybody's opening. How can't we just make systems that can just clean up? And another thing is the part of you already have tried this many times before. So most of the times is you go and this time you're more objective, more frugal, more aware of the things that you're doing. So, and you definitely remove the things that are necessary. You put the things that are necessary. How hard is it just for our country just to get systems like that in place, from your perspective?
I think sometimes we sensationalize leadership too much, right? So the way I see it, if we don't start when the kids are younger, if you don't start when you're planting that seed, there is absolutely no way once the fruit has been born that the fruit is kama ukipanda chungwa huwezi pata apple, hakuna. Unaelewa? So the people that we have now in parliament, these are the same people wenye walikuwa shule siku za Moi. So all these habits that or even the days of Kenyatta. So all these habits wako nazo, I don't think people grew up with certain values that are very, very concrete. Unaelewa?
Yeah.
And the reason I say this is I think our education is not the objectives or the intentions of the future of Kenya. They are misled. Unaelewa? So we mwenye ukienda shule, unaenda shule ndio upate job ama ukuwe na career poa. Unaelewa?
Yes.
But nobody goes to school so that they can be of service. No one goes to school so that they can be a good person. No one goes to school so that they can contribute to the community. Everyone goes to school so then they can benefit themselves and their family. So inakuanga tu kasaku kadogo. Unaelewa? There's a small majority of people that know why they should go to school so then they can make a big difference out there in the world. But hawa ni wandogo, na hata hawa hawakuange the outspoken ones. Hawa nakuanga tu wana mashughuli zao. But hawa tu mdomo mbwenye, hao ndo tunaendanga tunaweka kwa leadership positions. And unfortunately that's where we end up, because if we don't plant the seed, once it becomes a fruit, you cannot change it.
Sure. Now for this dimension, as you're saying that, I'm just like, yeah, now you're just looking at the farm and you're looking at what it has, you're just like, nah, we just have to plow out again and remove.
Ushapanda mahindi unasema ama nipike ama nigeuze ikue watermelon. Too late, ama nianze livestock farm. It's too late. So we harvest too. So what we need to do is sisi tu to harvest vitu zenye tu.
But now as a country, you want us to wait to harvest all this. Can't we just like change if possible?
As you lay your bed, you must sleep on it. Si ulitandika kitanda, umeralala. Ukishavua nguo, wewe oga tu sasa. Wewe sasa ukishavua nguo, wewe sasa oga. Ngoja season. Ngoja next season sasa. Yeah, I mean, or we create systems that will make these fruits become different. Unaelewa?
Yes, sir.
You create systems zenye zitafanya hawa watu wafanye kazi. But sasa unajua kuna challenge kwa sababu hizi systems hazitaundika kwa sababu wao watu wenye wako hapo kwa leadership positions, those are the ones that are meant to oversee these systems. So tuna shida kiasi. But we hope. Mimi na hope tu kuna two leaders tu fulani wenye watajitokeza and maybe that will be the change that we need.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
As a collective, we need to make a lot of sense of life and reality, and even from the content that you create that I appreciate, and this is why you just follow up and like, man, can I please have an interview with you? Is the part where you say taxes are what educate the nation. Taxes are what, create, build hospitals. Taxes are what, all these things. And for like educate is like, if we are looking at like kingdoms, like of before, because now the country is now the biggest. So with this is we should be working towards uplifting the kingdom of Kenya, the country of Kenya. And with
Yes.
this is understanding the hospitals, the schools, and all the, and all these points and what they play, energy, all the ministries that actually, we can put them in all the ministries that they are there. Those are all the ministries that take care of whatever we have as a country. And if those things are not just taken care of, I'm just like, we are missing the point already. Because life is the gift. Our biggest responsibility is just to take care of it. And from a personal level, if you can understand it from a personal level, you understand it why the next person needs it. If you understand, why you understand the hot shower right now, and then like, man, I grew up, I cannot allow to see another school just Chotamaji Pale. It does not make sense right now. And you come and be, the goodness in us just really just comes and stands out, and that's why you do whatever you do. Media people do whatever they do. Doctors, cleaners. So to our previous episode with Alex Chege, he's an evolution ecologist, and he was just like,
I think I started watching that. Yeah, go on.
Blessed. So they hear one of the points I got from that episode, because I learn even from the episodes themselves, and I'm so amazed doing every episode. Is maybe do 100%, because the next person to do the 100%, the next person to do the 100%, because they're so diverse. There's so many things we need to be doing just to be able to build up. Ants do such a long line, such a long work to even cross. I'm working at a place, and I was being told when you have beehive, ants are very bad at they attack the beehives, and with that there's a trough where you have to put water. So I'm just like, wow, this is like England, what you used to see when castles used to have also a water trough around just to keep the enemies away.
Yeah,
Like,
where they had like a, I forget the name, kulikuanga na jina ilikuwa inapewa moat. Oh man, hiyo kitu tulichapwa kwa sababu tulikuwa tunakumbuka jina yake. I kept thinking at school, sasa hii nafaa nijulie nini na tuna huku castles. I forget the name, but yeah, I know what you mean. Kulikuwa na hiyo maji yenye ilikuwa imezunguka castle yenye, and then sometimes they would have crocodiles in there, so ukianguka kwa hiyo maji, shauri yako wewe nini likutuma.
exactly. It's to protect against.
I know what you mean.
So people doing that also with ants, so they don't get to the beehives or to the place where the beehives are at. And you find ants actually come together and pile each other up to make a bridge to cross over. I'm like, the coordination we need to do these things in life, to be a success, to be the startup, to be the successful business. There's so much that goes into it. I'm just like, why are we fumbling with all this? There's so much coordination that we need that I'm not understanding why we have this miscoordination. And I bet that is what people are actually come to wake up to like, you're saying you're going to do this, to do this, to do this. Hey, JK, hey, talks, hey, like, because it does not make sense. And to a point, what I got from Corona was how confused as a people in the globe we are. We're always catching up to stuff. We're never.
It's very true. We are very confused. It's very true. Akuna, by the way, I don't think there's any better way to put what we are. We are confused. Yeah, go on. Sorry. We are confused.
So I'm just hoping for us to get to the point where we get to make sense of all this, to know our personal responsibilities, our personal roles, how we contribute to the society, how policemen are part of the society, how Mama Soko are part of the society. So even as we get the taxes, we understand why we're giving taxes, and also the people who are receiving this, are knowing of the process to close it because they have a role, they have a responsibility. It's not flashy. You're not going out there to do this, to do all these other things that Mheshimiwa. Oh man, public servant. Don't forget that part. So, and it's a bigger role that I even say, even spiritually, you're stealing millions, billions from other people. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it just flows like that. I don't.
Yes.
So we don't want to make sense of the good energy, catch up on it. Let's make the formulas, the linear formulas, and more better ones like this because we can. Yes, we can. Let's stop.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, several things I can say to that. First of all, what you do, the way you bring in a lot of guests to your podcast, I think it's a very valuable thing. And I kid you not, there is no better way to make real sense of life than to interact with other people. I think it was one of Emmanuel Achu, one of an ex-American football player. Sio ile futa yetu ya World Cup yenye inaanza next week. Sorry, ilianza jana. Sio ni ile rugby ya pads. And he said something that resonated with me powerfully since COVID. When he was running his podcast, said Conversations with a Black Man, and he said that proximity breeds empathy. The reality that you're around people that you don't sort of share the same meaning to life or share the same ideologies or share the same life experiences, when you're around them for the longest time, not for the longest time, but when you're around them and have conversations with them, you get to understand why it is that they feel that way, right? And I would challenge that and say, maybe someday we need to just shadow some of our politicians and just walk with them, see every move they make. And maybe then we can make a sense of why it is that they are the way they are. Unanielewa? Because we lose a lot of money during their watch. And maybe they mean well and they also don't understand why these things happen. However, that is an excuse. Unajua ni excuse. You mentioned something about tax, and you mentioned that thing about tax. And listen, a lot of people talk about this, and I reiterate this a lot. You know, before the coming of the explorers and colonialists, sisi Afrika tulikuwa tumeishi tu. Hakuna tax, hakuna kitu tunalipa, tulikuwa tumeishi tu. I can tell you a story of my grandfather. Walikuwa na floods huko hivyo. Wakahama huko na familia yao, wakaenda land ingine huko hivyo karibu na Imbo. And they came across this village and I said, look, sisi kwetu tumefuriko. Wakaambiwa, kwenye kumefurika, chukueni hapa mpaka kwa ile mti, ishi, start a new life there. That will never happen now, right? The things that we valued in the 1800s over time have evolved so much to what it is that we value now. Tax is one of them that we came to embrace in our systems. And now tax is almost everything that we exist with in life, right? We might not accept it, but it is almost everything. Saizi tumekaa hapa hivi, we've been speaking for almost 40 minutes, right? We have paid tax for 40 minutes live, because we're paying internet, the electricity that we're using now, we're paying for the bills. That cup that you're drinking from, you paid money for it to use it. So there's the tax that you've used that government is spending. The internet that we are spending now, we are spending money, and this money goes to the central government. Now, the central government, their job is to make sure that hii pesa yenye wamechukua inakuja inatupatia services. So this is why I always say that when people say that education is free, it's not free. Ishalipiwa. Hii kitu ishalipiwa. Hii kitu si free. venye watu wanasemanga tio bazari, hii si bazari. No. Hii ni pesa yetu, tunaenda tu kuchukua. CDF si ati pesa ya serikali. No. Angel paid for it. Angel's grandparents paid tax. Angel's brothers and sisters paid tax. They deserve better. So ukiona mtu anachukua hii do, inamaanisha one, maybe they do not understand the intensity with which people need to collect tax, so they've put together a pool of money. So kuna hiyo philosophy hawaja grow up nayo. Kuna tu philosophy cheap yenye tuli grow up nayo tukiambiwa manze usiibe kitu ya mwenzao. It sounds simple, but that is such a deep thing. You know, kama si yako manze usiguze, ukiokota pesa pelekea mwalimu. It's a very basic philosophy, but it is so deep. Maybe kuna watu wenye wanashughulikia do zetu. Maybe hizi ni vitu hawajui. And maybe we need to just shadow them, so then we can be empathetic with how it is that they act the way they do, or how it is that money gets lost, or how it is that people steal. Because me nimebelieve aitu corruption. Unajua disk inaweza kuwa corrupt. Your mind can be corrupted. So is it that my mind is corrupted? That's why we're losing 3 billion per day? No. Somebody is going to the bank, somebody is going to the consolidated fund, pesa yetu, anachukua hiyo do, anaweka kwa mfuko. Hiyo si corruption, hiyo ni wizi. Ni different.
Ni wizi. Making sense. At the end of it all is, look at how you've made sense of that, and to another person is that they may not be making sense of it the same way, and now you're just like, man, yeah, I think we really need to see your side. Wacha tukudate hapo na unaona kama uone ukiangalia tukatumia hivi, and then we come and align things, because is that thing
to my best now too.
And I like the way you say this thing of open-mindedness, and I think being mindful is another person brings their perspective, and at times and it's different from yours. And then now you feel like you're bringing too much. I'm like, nah. What I've come to make sense
That's
of
why.
Is respect the other person's perspective, and then you just know they have theirs and you have yours, and we don't have to fight about it. Let's just understand each other.
That's why unaona. So for example, if I read something, if I have an opinion and I feel very strongly about it, right? Tuseme me na wife, niko na kitu nimebelieve nayo na I feel strongly, nendanga naongea na mtu mwenye ana think different, tuna argue, but mimi na argue si eti nimconvince na debate kitu, ndio kama kuna mtu ananisikiza maybe ataona manze umse ana point, but kama kuna mtu ananisikiza nasema cheki ufala. But my intention is I need to understand what John is thinking, right? Because nikikaa hapa hivi, so I go and listen to somebody else who thinks just the way I do. Unajua kuna solution natengeneza. Nikaa hapa na msee anasema finance bill ni mbaya. No. Hapo hakuna. Mnaenda mnaongea na watu wenye ongea different, but the intention with which you're speaking, unaongea na yeye ndio nini? Unafaa uongea na yeye ndio understand kwa nini ana feel hivyo. Si tu umuongeleshe ndio change mind yake. Kwa nini ana feel hivyo? Maybe utaenda nyumbani, the next day pia utakuwa 1 term ama 2 term. Because you never know. And the reason nasema hivi, how many of our young people and older people wamechange mind? Na mtu akichange mind, the first thing people go to amelipwa. But they wanalipangwa. But kila mtu anasema amelipwa. But unajua wanalipwa.
And that is how actually you coming back to this, making sense of life and reality. What is it that they came to make sense of? for them to do whatever
Yes.
they did.
Thank you. Thank you. What is it that they made sense of that made them change their lives? Did they feel like their struggle was not worth it? I always give this example. There are people that they grow up very religious, right? And then later on in life, they change and they move on to something else. Or they change religions, they switch religions. Or they absolutely forget about religion. Then later on in life, wanarudi tena kwa religion tena. Unashinda, ai buda, kwani una change mind aje kama inzi? Unajua, uko hapa, uko hapa, uko hapa, uko hapa. But you just need to observe people, understand how they feel, and maybe that is how they make a sense of life. Sindio?
Man, it's like it's like you explaining to somebody else what making sense of life and reality podcast is. Exactly. God, man.
But it is making sense. It's a vast thing.
For people who are just discovering you, before the storytelling, before the platform, before the cultural commentary, who is the man, where does he come from, and what does he come with from where he comes from?
Man. So, I'm the Kikombe.
Yes, sir.
And it's as simple as that. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a cup. And the cup is just a philosophy. What is inside the cup is valuable. Whether it's a molded cup that is complete like this, or whether it's cracked. But whichever way, everything that is in there is valuable. You know, Angel, I always say to people, the reason you put something in that cup that you have, right?
Yes, sir.
For the reason that you want to drink it. Unataka kuikunywa hivi. Unaona? The reason unaweka
This
kitu
is
kwa
a
cup.
cracked one.
Do you know what? Even a cracked cup can pour water. Even a cracked cup can hold something. Unanielewa?
Yes, sir.
So when you put something in a cup for the purpose of ingestion, it is supposed to transform your life. So if you put water, it's because you're thirsty and you want to drink it. Don't. When you put juice, it's because you want to feel refreshed. When you put tea, you want to feel coffee, you want to feel activated. So when you put something in but when you fill wine, whatever it is, you want to ingest it so that you can transform your life short term or long term. It could be good, it could be bad. Because sometimes you could put poison inside a cup, like kumalize, but you have a purpose for it, right? So I often look at interactions and things that I see in life as a cup and as the contents of the cup. But I choose to look at the positive things and the positive side of the cup. Because what I see from people is the contents that the people have that I will ingest in me that will make me a better person. And then kuna content yenye mimi niko nazo zenye mtu hopefully atachukua kwangu that I believe is not poisonous, but it will grow them. It will enrich their lives. And so that's Kikombe. Other than that, mimi ni mtu tu. I'm a father, I'm a husband.
Yes, sir.
I got a family of many kids. Tuko wengi. I create content. And also I'm an educator. I'm passionate about sports, particularly team sports. I play football. Unluckily or luckily, I started playing it late. And so that changed my destiny a little bit. And I think and I believe that getting into team sports changed me in ways that education would have never ever done. Sorry, not education, but school would have never ever done.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's the Kikombe in a nutshell.
Bless it. Now, I usually love the questions of, wow, where somebody comes from and what's backing them up, because from then on, somebody just like, hey, listening to the Kikombe from a very different light. You hear him do the you like can feel the education, passion out of when you're doing that. Right now, you also say that you've done photography and videography for a very passionate place, and definitely from your podcast, you can see the quality of the lighting, quality of how you set up, and I'm like, oh, that inspired me as I was setting this up. So yes, sir. So coming to see all that, you're just like, man, things just don't come from anywhere. And as you have a passion, something can be biting you. It takes years, it takes time. Look at you with football, and right now being such an enthusiast, and you're saying it actually just changed your life. So, like, look at that.
Yes.
How do you come to make sense of what exactly in football or in team sports that you go to make sense of? Because that is, can you imagine for somebody who's just living their life and they're like, and then they try to, after hearing that, or even without even hearing that, but one day they hear you saying that, and they are like, hey, I agree. Whatever you said, I agree, because it makes sense. I agree. So yes, sir.
Yes, that's a very good question, because if there's any person out there in the world who might listen to this now, I can encourage you that there is no better way of enriching your life right now, especially in the current situation that we are in life, than joining or participating in a team sport. And I can explain to you how I came to this. So I never played team sports. Me nilikuwa tu mtoto wa kwenda shule. I used to go, and we used to have games at school. We used to call them games. But so long story short, I never took part in any sports. I ran, like athletics, cross country, because everybody was meant to do cross country. No spokuja or pia kuna punishment. But in my later stages of life, I joined a football team, and I think I realized that I'm actually not bad. Kumbe naeza kickball, So several things I learned in football that I probably would have never learned in a school is, it's not about you, it's about the team. Mtu akifunga bao, hakuna mtu anasemanga Kikombe amefunga bao. Mtu sema team imefunga bao.
Tumefunga bao.
Tumefunga bao. Hata kama si wewe ulikuwa unacheza. Watu wa Arsenal sijui kama wananisikia. Mmefunga na huko hapo hivyo Nairobi umekaa tu. Anyway, the many things I learned, it's about the team, it's not about the individual. And the biggest lesson whatsoever is that when somebody makes a mistake in a team, then everybody gets together to try and solve the problem. Mkiwa mnacheza ball, mtu mmoja lose ball, make mistake, ama aende pena, goalie atamback up, ama aende lose ball, you will all chase for the ball to keep it. And once you get the ball, you will fight to maintain possession. And that is the philosophy of life. Now, mkifunga bao, the whole team celebrates. So you all are passionate about getting things right, and you celebrate each other. You encourage each other. You're communicating in this field. Mnasema, oh yeah, get back, defense, because you know you're in trouble and you need to protect each other. And then we're going up. You're encouraging each other to score those goals. And you win, you all celebrate. You lose, you all feel sorrowful. Hakuna mtu lose alafu anasema manze team yetu ime lose. You all feel sorry for each other. You go back in the changing room and you encourage each other. If I have to say it, the best drum in the village is the drum that beats with everybody. Senor, the best drum in the village is the drum that beats with everybody. Rhythm ni anacheza na rhythm ya yule, anacheza na rhythm ya yule, anacheza na rhythm ya yule, but anacheza na rhythm zote. So you as a team player, you're playing to the rhythm of everybody in the team, including the fans and the coach. Unaelewa?
Yes, sir.
So those are the things that I learned in football that I don't think I would have ever learned those lessons. Hiyo training yote unafanyaga, alafu mechi ni moja. We nacheza. The other big lesson, I think research has it that in the 90 minutes of football that everybody plays, I think no one has the ball for more than kuna 90 minutes, individual moja minutes. Hiyo ingine ni nduthi. Uko tu mbio unakimbiza hiyo ball, unakimbia sijui hivi. 90 minutes bro. Hi. So that's another lesson, right? It's about what you do when you don't have what you want that matters in life, and not necessarily what you do when you get what you want. So when you're chasing that you want is what matters most. It's not necessarily what you do when you get that which you've been praying for. Yeah. You're in a team sport.
Yeah, you've talked about your father before. That theme of fathers who didn't say I love you. How much of what you do is fulfilling that silence? And especially since you say now you're a father of many.
Yeah, man. You know, I always say to people that my father never called me his son, you know, until I hadn't seen him for about 2 years. Nimepotea, nilikuwa nimetravel, and then I managed to see him after 2 years, and he was sat in the living room reading a newspaper. I think it was post-election, ilikuwa imeshapita. So newspaper ilikuwa thing. He always loved newspaper. So he was reading a newspaper, and he didn't expect me, so I surprised him. And I go in the house, and akavuta hivi miwani chini, akaniangalia, akarudi kwa gazeti. Akafunga gazeti, buda akaniangalia tena. And he said, my son, buda tulilia. Tulilia. Nikamhaga hapo. Mimi ndio nililia, yeye alikuwa analia. But I could see the emotions. I could feel the emotions because we hugged for a while. But a lot of times when I think of these situations, I always remember that, you know, our fathers taught us, when you see the experiences that our fathers went through, you observe a lot of sacrifice. Sindio? You observe that they worked so hard. Their generation was very difficult because wametoka hii Kenya haijakuwa hata independent more than 50 years. So bado wako na ile mentality ya ukoloni. Mzungu atakuchukulia land yako. Then they showed us so many things. Walikutufunza kufunga viatu, kutie our laces. They taught us how to read and write. They provided for us, right? They showed us how to behave. They showed us responsibility, right? But the things that they never showed us or they never gave us were affirmations. You know, moments like, you know, you're doing a great job. Moments like, I love you, my son. Moments kama hizo zenye nakwambia, my son, you know. So they taught us a lot of responsibility. But the older we get, life teaches us that despite all those responsibilities and all those sacrifices that our parents had, deep down, this experience of life, they were speaking to us the language of I love you. This is the language of I love you. Now, here is where I learned this, and remember, this is making sense of life, making sense of life. Later on, you realize that perhaps the reason they didn't say I love you is because culturally, it was about doing and not necessarily saying it. Throughout time, in our cultures, back in the days, your mom and dad would bring you something. It is only after interacting with different cultures, different religions, different parts of the world that you realize, wale wanasemanga I love you, or nilisoma I love you kwa kitabu, so maybe my dad should have said this. But when I think about it, they actually did love us a lot. Hata nile kichapo walikuwa natuchapa. It was just their way of expressing their love for us. So when I think about what I do and how it's related to bridging that gap, now I tell my children I love them, right? And I always say to my daughter, I always say to my daughters that I love you. And then she will always say, I love you, Mama. And she says, I love you too. And I always ask them, how much do I love you? And we always have this response. And it's usually a million times more than 1 second ago, you know? So that's the kind of affirmation, because I know that the current generation, wanataka waambiwa wanapendwa, unaelewa?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hey man, bless you, bless. And you see, it's the making sense of, man, there's that part of it not being said, and now here you are the part of, you transmit the energy, because I usually say at times we're the transmitter in between. Bad energy can come to you, but again, it doesn't have to leave you being the bad energy. It can come to you like that, but be the transmitter, change it and transmit better energy, because you didn't like it when it came that way. You're like, hey, yo,
Agree.
think for the next person, think will be a bit different. So, man,
Agree.
to the generational curses and chains and protocol designs that are never changed. So when they change, now we're like, man, to the point of why we say life is a gift. Because when you look even at the family tree, there's your great-grandfather, there's your grandfather, there's your father, there's you, there'll be the next one, and all this, and everybody just has their allocation in this whole family tree. And with that,
Agree.
I hope for everybody in their timeline to be able to do the bit that they need to do. Because at the end of it all, there's the confusion, there's the getting lost, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly at the end of it all. Just wish for everybody all the best to be able to, make it out the other side and be like, yay, I understood what was good, what was bad, what was ugly, and now
I made it.
I bring you this good, because I know
Yes.
all the other Karagashas are behind there. But again, what I choose to bring you is the good. So
I can do better. Agree with you.
For sure. It's something that I was thinking of the other day, and just like a cup, and there's a point where you usually say the emptying of the cup, because there's the philosophy of now you can fill it because you cannot fill a full cup, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I've always been going my life in the part of being the overflowing cup, being from the good that you have in heart, it overflow, because if you have bad, man, it will overflow and it won't be good for you. So the other day I was drinking out, and I was like, with the Kikombe, with the emptying of the cup is a part of meditation. So when you meditate, you drink up, and you'll empty of what had been filled in before. So I was like, man, I just wanted to give you back gig. Appreciate you for that concept, and it really hit me, and I was like, man, look at that, looking at this whole concept from a very different perspective. Also, yes, big up.
I love that. Thank you.
Bless up.
Don't.
So, let's get deeper. Your content sits at this intersection: culture, politics, humor, grief, joy. What is your fundamental lens for understanding life? When you look at the world, what are you actually looking for?
Angel, I think that is a very multi-pronged question, and it's very, I don't know if I know what I'm looking for, but I can tell you what I wish for now, I just wish that at a given point my mind will ever be at peace, and my heart will be at peace. There are so many distractions around the world now that we all are facing, not just me. We all are facing so many distractions around the world, and most of them come from not understanding things that are happening around us. And I'm hoping that maybe perhaps one day my content will let somebody understand or have an answer to that little question that they had in their mind. For example, there's so many questions I have about our culture and how things happened in the past and why they're not happening now, right? I always give this example to people when we say we sort of did an overhaul of most of our cultures and got rid of some values that we had in the past, and then we replaced it with not so much values, but measures and things that we sort of had to do instead of things that we believed in. I'll give an example. I always say that in the past, land belonged to the woman. Amongst the Luo, I'm from the Luo tribe. Manja Luo bwana, Omera, focus. Omera bwana, stay guided, bwana.
That's what you're asking for. Please stay guided, my good people.
Please stay guided, bwana. Omera bwana, focus, bwana. So in the past,
yes,
land belonged to the woman. Right, so for example, Angel, if you got a wife, then your mom would own the land that you had, and if you ever had a wife, once you get kids, and when the kids are sort of almost becoming of age, then your wife is ready to cater for them. Your mom would take your wife and say, "Oh, wife, come here. I want to give you this piece of land from this tree to that tree to that tree to that tree. This is your land, and I want you to provide for your family. And if your children ever go hungry, that's on you." So this was bestowed upon your wife. Now, the wife was the man would provide, and then the wife would sort of oversee. And anafanya oversight, ana control possessions, right? But this changed with different cultures. The more we interacted with Western culture, then the more these things changed. And the questions I have in my head, why is it that some things stopped happening, even though when I look at them, they were very valuable? So when I create content, I just hope that somebody will one day find their meaningful answers to questions that they had in life. And the other thing about, politics, and I didn't mean, if you think about my content, I rarely talk politics. It just happens to be related to politics because I just talk about the number billion.
Man, how did you get to that? How did the billion ever get to you to be like, man, I have explained it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I can make content of 1 billion, and I won't be able to run out of it.
You can't run out of content. That's the thing. Some people think that you can run out of. You can just decide now, I want to create content about a cup. And you can never run out of content. Maybe you can run out of ideas, but you will never run out of content, right? Huwezi. If people could run out of content, Hollywood itafungwa. So itafungwa, watu warudi home. Lupita akatarudi hapa hivi Kisumu very fast. So the way I see it is the reason I started, say, for example, the billion is when I think about education, when I think about numbers, when I think about life, everybody talks about being a millionaire. Sindio? How often, where shule mlifunzwa billion kweli? Nyinyi mliguza. Sisi tulikuwa tunamalizia 100,000 na million kama ni rahisi. Bas, for example, how many people are there in the world? Tunakanyagia 8 billion. So now, ukiangalia, kuna siku nilionanga hii cartoon ya sijui Donald Duck, ama ilikuwa nani, I can't remember. And I was watching this and they were trying to explain a billion. First they explained a million, then they explained a billion, and nilibaragasha. Nasema sasa katuni inaniambia billion na it's not possible. Then nikaenda nika Google, naangalia hivi nasema wow, ikitu ni mob. But do you know how many times I used to listen to billion daily? Nikaenda mimi unajua nasoma gazeti daily. Mimi hata leo nilisoma gazeti. Mimi husoma gazeti daily. Sisomi kila kitu, but I look at the headline and then I see what is useful for me, because a lot of time gazeti pia imeandikwa na kizungu ngumu. Andikeni gazeti na kizungu rahisi. So hata Taifa Leo manze inaandikwa na methali noma.
Pia hiyo warahisishe pia hiyo acha ku lugha ya mpe. With
time it come. So anyway, so that day things sparked on me, because I made the connection between what I read in the newspapers, and I cannot remember what it was, but it was, I really can't remember. Then it was something to do with money that was lost.
Yeah.
Na hata haikuwa fertilizer, ilikuwa tu kitu ingine ajabu tu, hata haikuwa pesa mingi. Then I did that calculation on Google ikaniambia wewe sasa unatafutia hii pesa mingi ya nini? Why? Then I calculated this and I made it to dollars. And then the next thing you say, you know, how many people in the world can make it to $1 million in their lifetime? Very few. And that is where it clicked on me, you know. Like $1 million, something million. It depends on how much a dollar is size. Sindio? So $1 billion, hey, Buddha, una lose count. You lose count. You do lose count. So the day that clicked on is the day I realized, wow. So then I needed to start finding a way to break this down. So I said, okay, so how can I break this down? I said, in order for somebody to understand these things from a basic point of life, then they need to understand it. You know, I think it was Albert Einstein who said, if you cannot explain it simply, then you don't really know it. Kama huwezi explain kama mtu wa first grade, then uja master hiyo kitu.
Wacha nikuongezea, wacha nikuchachishie. Mtu aelewe na aweze kuexplain ya mtoto mwingine wa darasa yake na aelewe. Haujaelewa.
Bas, see? Yeah, so that is the moment where now it clicked and it never went back.
Yes, sir. That was the light. Have you ever gotten any?
Yeah.
If there's anything, wow.
Sorry.
I am a Christian. I love the concept of light. In photography and videography, you know how crucial light is. Like, you know how, you know, getting, I don't go into a house and one people talk into usiku, you're just like, hey, nitaona nini? But now, ukwe na nyumba in the same place, na siku hizi mko na Friday tuko zile, imagine kuna siku tuko tunaambiwa toke nje ole pale hivyo. So just the concept of light is so amazing that you're like, hata ukiwa kwa nyumba, you know, umesahau kifungo ama umeweka kofia mahali kwa bedroom na hautaki kuwasha light, but you know you have to keep doing this, but you put on the light and you're like, ndio ile, go straight to it, come on and get it.
It's true.
So come
light
on,
is magical, man.
So please continue shining the light, and I love when when the light bulbs goes on and bless up. This is what you're saying, and the Kikombe.
Donkey. You know, from the day you were born to the day you die, no human being has ever been able to write or even type 1 billion words. Even great authors themselves, they get to just maybe 1 million words. Great authors, Kina Uko, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and everybody, never been to 1 billion words. Omera, 1 billion. 1 billion is not baby money. And we need to protect these billions that are being taken from our tax money. Because if you don't watch the person who's molding your pot, don't be surprised if it spills. Don't you? I'm the Kikombe, your second favorite storyteller.
Stay blessed and subscribed. This is Making Sense of Life and reality.